So Mafia 3 may not be a popular contender for a Game of the Year award, but the game does have a lot going for it outside of the repetitive gameplay, which I don't think is all that bad really. The soundtrack, the story and the world design itself are all fantastic, and one of my biggest praises for this game is the attention to detail, and that is what I wanted to show and tell in this video. Hello everyone, I am RedBeakRaven and welcome to a Mafia 3 video where I will be showing off some of the little things in the game that you may not be aware of, the things that I really like, and the things that I found somewhat helpful. Now the first three things are related to the police. So the first thing is that if you are walking or driving around New Bordeaux and you spot an empty police car that might just be tempting to steal, or perhaps you stole a police vehicle in order to make an escape, then be warned that you're not entirely safe driving one of these cars around willy-nilly. If you happen to pass an occupied police car or an officer out on the streets doing his rounds, then you might want to accelerate as soon as, because the police in this game do actually notice someone that isn't in uniform driving around in a police car. And also it probably doesn't help that you're a black male in 1960s America. So yes, the police will come after you if they notice you happily driving around in one of their cars, although unless you're in a hurry I see no reason why you would, because the boring pigs don't have commercial radio. What a disgrace and an insult to the soundtrack. The second police related aspect is more of a realistic scenario, so if you happen to punch or shoot a local bartender or shopkeeper at their establishment, then if you come back later you'll notice that there is a big yellow sign next to the door stating that this location is a crime scene and going in the place will be classed as trespassing. Now this is actually quite cool, but what's even cooler is that there are two stages to this. The first one is that the police actually come and investigate shortly after the incident. There's usually one officer standing at the door talking to someone, and then up to two more can be found further in the building. Naturally, if you just walk into the police will try to, well, they won't try to arrest you, but they'll simply start shooting, which isn't very nice, is it? So you could go in quietly if you really must revisit the location. The yellow crime scene sign then appears later after the cops are finished investigating and the front door is locked tight, although that's not really going to stop us from entering, is it? It would be even better if the police taped off the area and there was a coroner's car on the scene, but that's been nitpicky, this isn't LA Noire. The third and final police related thing is more than likely a racial issue. If you walk up to a policeman, not to punch him or aggravate him in any way, just to have a friendly conversation, you'll be greeted by something along the lines of this.
You think you're going?
And then the police will try to shoot you. You know, despite the fact the police in this game are all on Marcano's payroll and Lincoln is a dangerous criminal, I'm starting to think that they're worse than the bloody Mafia. Now obviously racism is a big part of Mafia 3 and you can see this very early on, but here's something you may not have noticed. You're out and about, taking a stroll down some of New Bordeaux's sinister streets, and out of the blue comes this.
Stick to the holler with the other Negroes.
Yep, you heard him right. If you take a walk around New Bordeaux and explore the city on foot, not only will you see some of the neat little things in this game like musicians and people strangely frisking each other. I mean, I don't know why this is necessary. It's not like everyone's a police. Oh, I see what they are doing. But you'll also meet people who clearly have no worries about throwing bad words around. Not only when walking around will you be verbally attacked, but some people, no matter what race they are, will say hi or how are you and so on. However, if you walk into a crowd of white people, then all I can say is heads will be splattered. I'm so glad I can do this. It's just so satisfying. To be honest, I only do this to enemies and people who insult me, which in this game is everyone. Almost everyone. So moving on, if you have an eye for detail, then you may have taken the time to see just how the rain in this game works. Now I don't know if this applies to every downpour, but while I was taking a stroll around New Bordeaux, I noticed that when it started raining slightly, you could actually see the individual raindrops falling onto the ground. Yes, I know I'm weird, I spend too much time looking at the ground. Sod being normal, normal's boring. Yes, I noticed that when it starts raining, you could actually see the specks of rain on the ground, and as you'll notice here, the rain is picking up, but there are no puddles. And then a little later, as the rain carries on, there are now puddles. So basically the rain continues to fall from above and thus the environment reacts. And yes, you can even take shelter from the rain. Times we live in, folks, I tell you, it's crazy. Either that or I am. And speaking of rain, depending on how many times you change the camera to look back instead of using the rear view mirror at the top of your screen, you may or may not have noticed that in this game when it's raining, windscreen wipers are actually used. Now all we need are manual gear changes and this game could be on its way to being a simulator, although I doubt this is realistic. And on the note of realism and immersion and bloody windscreen wipers, literally, another little detail that is a bit tricky to notice is that Lincoln does have a gear change animation. I don't think I need to explain how this actually works, so I'll just leave you with this footage. And on that note, why do I keep saying that? It's likely you've already noticed this, but maybe you're unsure about what this is. If you're driving around listening to the radio and have ever crashed your car while doing so, you may have noticed that naturally the radio briefly cuts out or crackles on impact. However, if you're just taking a little Sunday drive and happen to be going through a tunnel or a multi-story car park while listening to the awesome soundtrack that this game has, you'll notice that the radio suffers from interference and you'll hear static along with crackling audio. In case you didn't know, this is exactly what happens in real life. It's just one of those small but fine details that I appreciate a lot in video games. And on the note of okay, now I'm taking the piss. Speaking of fan detail, I'm sure those who have heard a lot about, seen or played Mafia 3 may know that this game really does go to great lengths to depict the racism that was present at this time in America. Segregation was one of the more appalling aspects people had to deal with in these times, and you can actually see this to an extent in Mafia 3. Take a look at some of the bars and clubs throughout New Bordeaux and you can clearly see the division between white and black people. Another thing in relation to this is that there are specific places in the game where going inside one of them is a crime itself. Outside of such establishments you'll find a sign on the windows near the doorway that states no coloured allowed. However, I think I have an appropriate solution to this. You reckon this guy likes the taste of his own floor? Now moving on to something that isn't actually a fan detail but a useful thing to have and know about in this game. So first of all, you may have already noticed that there are no garages in Mafia 3 where you can repair and customise your vehicles. So what are we supposed to do when our car is in need of a spit and polish? Or how about what do we do when we're on missions and we have to enter someone else's car and thus leave ours somewhere back and beyond? Well, I have a decent solution to both of these. So if for example you were doing your mission for Burke and you drove off to find one of the cars you need, you get in that car and deliver it to the scrapyard, but oh my god for call Phil, we've lost our car. Well, never mind, we'll just go in and see Burke, then leave his office, and then oh my god, on a bike there's magic in Mafia 3. In all seriousness though, if you do need to obtain the last vehicle you were driving and you're near one of the characters' offices, whether it be your underbosses or their lieutenants, then just go in and say hi, come back out and there is your car. This also repairs any damage the car might have and does sort of work when you drive it into the water. Yeah, like I said, it sort of works. Okay, so I've got 3 more little details to show off. Just 3. Promise. So I'll go now with Lincoln being a gentleman gangster. So yes, for all the brutality Lincoln shows with guys, when it comes to the ladies of New Bordeaux, he's much more, well, a gentleman. Now, I'm not talking about the fact that he doesn't kill women or faceplant them on the floor. I'm talking about when he's stealing a car. Often when Lincoln is in need of a ride, he takes no time in getting one. He rips the doors open, yanks guys out of the car and speeds off into the sunset. But maybe you've noticed that he doesn't do this with the ladies. That's right, Lincoln Clay doesn't throw women out of the car. He instead opens the door and says something like this.
Sorry, I gotta borrow this.
So the lesson here, fellas, is this. No matter what you're doing, most of the time there's no excuse for not being a gentleman. Now onto a detail that surely most of you already know about, is that Lincoln tends to do almost everything in style, and one of those things is sliding along car bonnets. Like I said, it's the little details and things in life. Not only does Lincoln slide along with style, but he sometimes gives it a bit more oomph by doing a little roll as well. And now finally we come to the last small detail I wanted to mention. From the very start of Mafia 3 being shown to us, we knew that alligators would probably be present in the game. Apart from the nice touch of realism they add to the world, they can be bloody annoying when you're trying to approach a certain area by swimming there only to find your path is blocked by these ferocious things. Alligators in the game are a threat to both you and others, but they are also one of the best methods for body disposal. That's right, you can pick up a body, stick it on a boat and find an alligator and, well, the rest is obvious. I even tried to do something a bit more ambitious by taking this truck all the way to Frisco Fields, obtaining a body through necessary means, and driving it all the way down south to Bayou Phantom, but unfortunately it didn't work as well as I wanted it to. Although considering how many mobsters Lincoln needs to take down, I don't think this is the best way to cover your tracks. So there you have it, a decent number of small details that are present in Mafia 3, and whether or not you enjoyed the game, you've got to give credit to the attention to detail. I honestly believe that it's the little things that sometimes make the biggest difference. Now let me know in the comments below which of the things in this video were you not aware of, are there any other details I may have missed off, and how important do you think the fan details are? But anyways, hit the like button if you like this video. You can also follow me on Twitter or like me on Facebook. You'll find the links to those in the bottom of the description. But for now, that's all from me, so until next time, I'll see you soon.